I'm Jody and welcome to my channel, and more importantly, welcome to today's video. I'm really glad that you're here. So if you have wondered about contouring and what it can do for you, should you be doing it, how do you do it, where do you place it, what products do you use, it can all seem a bit overwhelming. And I'm here to say that I'm a huge fan of contouring, especially if it's a special event, if it's a night out, if the lighting's gonna be a little bit more dark. If it's a full daytime out in the sun, contouring is a little bit hard to get away with more mature skin. But today's tutorial is really going to teach you where to place it, the best places to start, and the impact that it can have on your overall look. Contouring is really just what it says it is. It's to help sculpt, add some chisel, add some dimension to any shape face. So I want that to be clear. Anybody with any shape of a face can give this a try if they're interested in it. I don't do it every day. I'll do a little bronzer every day, which is just meant to warm the skin tone, and we'll talk a little bit about that in the video as well. But contouring, when you see really pretty makeup looks in magazines or online, for example, it's typically there's quite a bit of contouring done. It's just blended in such a wonderful way that you would never know it. So maybe when it's washed, somebody's face will, it just looks different than it does with contouring, because contouring can have such an impact where the eye thinks there's shadow and where there is truly not shadow, but you create it. So I hope you use this video as truly a tutorial and hit it on pause, practice a couple steps, go back to it until you feel comfortable using contouring the way you want to use it. And I'd love to hear from you in the comment section if you've tried this technique, what you thought of it, what you thought of your overall look, because that's the most important thing, is did you achieve some of the looks that you're hoping to? And with time, I promise you it will get easier and you'll get much more effective with it. But just right out of the gate, what I'm going to teach you, it's not hard to do. I promise you it's not hard to do. So I hope you enjoy this. If you do, please give me a thumbs up with this video so that I know that these types of contouring or bronzers are the types of tutorials that you're really interested in. And then if you're not a subscriber, I'd love to have you subscribe. That just means that it's something that you enjoy seeing, and you'll be notified of a video every time one is posted, which is once a week, sometimes twice a week if I get extra excited about a new product or a new technique that I want to share. So would love to have you be a subscriber. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get rid of some of this makeup and stay to the end so you can see sort of the before and the after of the impact that contouring can have. So you can really contour any shape of face. So I don't want you to see this video and go, oh, well, my face isn't shaped like that, so it's not gonna work. I absolutely encourage you to try it. And some of the price points of the products I'm gonna show you today, you can absolutely pick one up and practice and see what works best for you. If you're hesitant to contour, I totally understand. And I would say there's probably two places that I would practice and start to get comfortable with it, because you'll see the most impactful results from these two places. And it's the easiest places to blend. Definitely don't be too hesitant to go really, really, really dark with your contour. And I'll show you how to use this in just a second. For really dark skin toned, this is one that I like. This is Deep 82. And this is actually the foundation, the new Kat Von D foundation. And this is a really good contour for those of you with darker skin tones. So the two places that I would suggest that you start from a contouring, and again, contouring is all about just sort of giving shape to the face. If you've ever seen an artist who does penciling and shadowing and drawing facial structures with pencils, how they shade to get the bone structure in the face on a flat surface, that's exactly the same principle and concept in contouring. So the thing with contouring when you're first picking out your color is you want to make sure that it's more on the gray tones versus warm, because when it's warm, it just doesn't quite look like a shadow. It looks like a bronzer. So you really want to make sure that, and again, for those of you that might have my skin tone, this is Y505 by Makeup Forever, and they do have a wide variety of shades, a nice shade range. So I would absolutely suggest that you pick up maybe something in that brand or any brand that you're comfortable with. Just look at their concealer and go to the very darkest sections of those concealers and pick up a concealer. It doesn't have to say it's just for contouring. It can be a concealer. The consistency is very similar. You're just looking for a blendable concealer or a blendable contour in the shade that you want, and that consistency is pretty similar. And again, I prefer cream contour and cream concealer, but cream contour when I'm going to contour my face. I just find that it blends best. So what I do is I personally have a high receding hairline. My dad probably would hate it if I said that, but I got my dad's cheekbones, but I also got his hairline. So if you feel like your hairline is maybe farther back than you'd like it to be and you want to give a little bit closer look to the face, which is what I do, it sort of recedes a little bit back on each side. So I want that to look like it's shaded so that my face looks a little bit more like that instead of so far back. So for me, I will take a really dark contour pen. And if you have, you know, again, if your hairline is way back and you want to bring it, the illusion of it more forward or minimize the look of it farther back, then this would be an option for where you would want to contour. If, for example, your hairline is right where you want it to be, but maybe it goes back in this area and you'd want it to come down a little bit more, then this is just going to fill in those areas. So you kind of want to think about what does your face look like, and if you could have maybe better cheekbones, would you want to put that in from a contour perspective? Cheekbones gets a little bit more technical. So today we're going to cover the two areas that I think will be easiest for you, but then I'll give you some guidance on the cheekbones in case you want to play around with that as well. So in terms of where to put it, I just put a few dots to kind of cover up those where my hairline goes back a little bit, and just put a few dots right there to sort of give that illusion. And then I will start to blend that in. Now to blend it, I prefer a dense, short bristled, more stiff brush because then I can stiffle it in. I just go and really just kind of blend it and stiffle it. Now you want to be careful that you don't start blending everywhere, or else you've lost the position and the placement of that contour, and then thus you've lost the effect of it. So that just blends in really nicely, and on camera I think that's probably going to look a little bit more aggressive than maybe it actually is, which is the purpose of this demonstration. And if I was going to be on film a lot in the day, I would contour pretty aggressively and not blend it so much. But if I'm going to be out in person, then you definitely want to blend that away a little bit more. Now you don't want to come too far down on your forehead ever, because then it just makes this space look shorter. So I want to leave some room there so that it looks like I have a normal forehead. I just don't want it to look like I have quite as big of a forehead as I do. So you can see how that just really nicely blends up into your hairline, so that that's not a dead giveaway that you've got a concealer on. A contour. And then some people like to go in and highlight after they've done the contouring, which is completely fine. I have enough of a difference in the shade between my foundation and my contour, which is why I go with a darker contour, that I don't need to then go back and put another product in the middle of my forehead, being a highlighter or a concealer. I like to get away with the fewest products as possible. So if my foundation is one color and I go pretty dark with my contour, then I don't need to go with yet a third product being a highlighter. And then for your jawline, so you can kind of see how that already just sort of changes the shape of my face. Now the next thing I've noticed is as I age, my jawline is sagging. Now I'm working on a few products and products, I guess, devices, because they're electronic, that I am working on, that I'm testing. So we're gonna see how those start to work, and I'll share that with you, which is why I'm testing them before I bring it to you. But I do, until those start to work, if they're gonna work, I do wanna have a little bit more of a jawline so that it looks a little bit more defined from here and here. So for me, I get a little bit jowly right here. It may not show up on camera, but I just feel like right here, it's not as tight as I'd like it to be. What I'm gonna do is take my contour stick, and you don't contour below that line that you wanna make, and you don't contour above it. I am just gonna make the line that I want to make. So there's a good before, and then I'm just gonna kind of go down and go right on the edge. So again, that is gonna look pretty aggressive for the purposes of camera, which is my point. But we can work with that, because then we're just gonna take that, so you can see how that line just kind of draws a straight line. And from the front, you really can't see it. And that is the purpose, because we're gonna blend it so it's an illusion of a shadow, being the majority of the shade going underneath. So I'm just gonna really carefully put that on the corner So not on the high side and not all under here, but sort of on that corner to make the illusion of that darkness right there. And then once I've sculpted sort of that look, see why you don't do this every day, you'd be put on your makeup for hours. Then I blend it down my face. So you can kind of see how it's given me a more defined line than it did before. Now we'll blend that in so that it doesn't look quite as obvious in real life, but you can almost see from the front. Let's see how I can do this. Maybe if we do that, you can hopefully see this way the difference in my jawline. So we'll do the other side. It's very same thing, just kind of go underneath. I don't have a mirror on that side. So just, I'm clearly not left-handed. Ah, there we go, let's go that way. So just behind the jaw, and then a straight line. And guys, if you don't get a straight line, it's okay. So I think that's the misconception with contouring, is it feels like it has to be so precise. You have to have precision with where you place it as you're blending it. But if you get like a double line like that, it's fine. That's why these dense brushes are really good for the blending part of it, because you have much better control over where you're gonna place that product. And then just really, again, this is important so that you're not all under here and it's not all on the side, but you're really on the bottom part of the curve of your face, because that's where you're gonna have the most impact from the color and the shading, if you will. So from there, then you just sort of blend it along that line. And again, you saw how dark this contour stick was on my foundation, but in person, that's why this is better off for glam night, low lighting, date night. But the blending is the key. And that's why it's important that the color is more on the grayish tone versus warm, because warm can look misplaced. But the more gray it is, the better for the contour. Now, if we're talking about bronzer is definitely better on the warmer side. And then I just like to go back through while I have it on my brush and just make sure my ear matches and blend that in all the way. So you can see how just on each side, you can't see it, but you definitely have a shape to the side of your face. So those are the two that I would tackle first, because it's easiest to blend there. But if you want to go to sort of the third, and there's really 4 places people contour. They contour their forehead, they contour their jaw, their cheeks, and their nose. Now, I don't contour my nose because my nose is already skinnier than I'd like it to be. I actually go the opposite and try to make my nose wider by putting highlight through there. If you want to contour your nose, you could probably go with something like this Bare Essentials. Yeah, that happened. Because it's a smaller, again, this is the one that I use so you can see how dark it is, but it's a smaller head on it, so you could have a little bit more control if you wanted to have more of a precision on your nose or on your jawline. If this scares you, the width of the size of this compared to the size of that, totally get it. Let's see if I can just give you an example of what that. So I like the bigger one because it just gives me, I feel like I can just blend it better. But if you want to practice, you might want to start off with something smaller. And then again, you could do that for your nose. Now, in terms of the cheeks, this is where I think it gets a little bit tricky, but I have cheekbones, so I don't do this a lot, but you could go with the smaller one. And just think about, where do you want your cheekbones to sort of be a little defined. Now, regardless of my face shape, if you have a larger face shape, or maybe you say you have an oval. If you have an oval face shape, you may want it to appear a little bit wider So you're not going to want to contour in. You may want to contour a little bit on down through here and here so that it makes it look more this way if you think it's too much this way. On the same token, if your face is very round and you want to have it look a certain way, maybe you want it to look a little bit less round, then you'll just contour a little bit on the edges of here, a little bit on the edges here, and then a little bit of the edges here, so that you're taking it from there to maybe there. So hopefully that gives you some perspective. If you have like a heart-shaped face, which is more wider up here and then pointed down here, and maybe if you have a heart-shaped face, you want to do, you know, maybe you don't want this part to be quite so much of a heart and you want it to be more of an oval, then you're just going to take those pieces and shade them back. So sort of think about the shape of the face that you have and then the shape of the face that you want, and wherever that in-between space is, that's what you're going to want to contour. So for the cheeks, you can easily go, so for me, I have cheekbones, but I'll show you from a purpose of demonstration. A way to contour that would be right underneath. See, mine are already so indented that I hate to contour them because they're going to look like I'm really sucked in, but that's probably a good perspective just to show you. So I'm going to go right, I want them to be a little bit more, maybe they stick out so much here. So I'm going to go a little bit higher because I want them to fade in instead of stick out. Now, if you want to create cheekbones, if it's more of a rounded surface and you want to create cheekbones, then you're going to go down below so that it looks like there's shadow there, just a straight line below where you want your contour. And then again, you'll just blend that out. So this is why I do like the cream, because I just feel like I get better blendability. So you can see just by blending that, and I'll keep blending a little bit more, but by and large, it just gives a much different look. So now my cheekbones look like they're indented, but it looks like they're indented much higher. Hopefully that you can see that. And then from there, you know, you would go on and put on your blush if you choose to, or if you use any highlighter or any other concealer, and you can use bronzer. Now, if I use a contour to shape my face, I will still use a little bronzer, because bronzer isn't meant to shape. Bronzer is really meant to just give you that healthy bronze, because if you've put foundation on, we've sort of given the face just a canvas of all one shade. And because of the dimensions in your face, it's not flat in all one shade. So the bronzer really warms up the curves in your face and shows that your face has dimension. So you still want to use your bronzer. So from there, you guys, that is the contour part of it. Now I would absolutely go in with a little bit of a bronzer to warm up my face and some blush. So I am sticking with, I love creams as I get older, so I'll just put on a little bit of cream blush. And I'm using the Clé de Peau number 4. Now, don't be afraid to put your blush right on top of your contour. That also gives a nice layering and dimension, similar to your eyeshadows. When you layer eyeshadow on top of eyeshadow, it gives a dimension. Same is true for your contour and your blush. Now, if you put your contour lower to actually give yourself a cheekbone, start your blush on the high side of that contour and just blend that in. And again, since it's cream, similar to a pressed powder, I just like to use a pouncing motion and not a rubbing motion, so that I'm not moving around all of that product that I just placed. So then you can take a bronzer, and I like this It Cosmetics brush for my bronzer because I like the small side and then that thicker side, so that if I want to do a quick easy bronze, which is what I do every day, or if I want to get a little bit more precise, I can use this. I'll just use this smaller side today because I already have now that contour on. So I'm just going to sort of set that, and I'm not going to go just where my contour is. I'm going to go sort of in that, you know, where would the sun be hitting my face, or where would the sun sort of leave some tanning or some burning. If that's the case, it would certainly go kind of more on your cheeks, up a little bit on your nose, and definitely on your ears and down on your neck and on your chest if you have any of that like kind of open. So that pretty much is how I would kind of do that. Now, if you wanted to, of course, add some highlighter, you could, which I will because it's here and I feel like I need some highlighter. That's probably one of my makeup addictions is today is not a good day. What is wrong with my sticky fingers? I don't know what I'm... With the highlighter, I'll just go right sort of on my cheekbones like I always do. That's normal. You guys see how I normally do my highlighter. But I think that is a good... It's pretty easy. I think it just takes a little bit of practice to contour. And again, I would encourage you to not be afraid of it. And don't be afraid to go too dark on the contour color because you'll really start to like the way that looks when you blend it into your foundation. And again, you can go with the smaller one if you'd like, or if you want to just go for it and go for a little bit bigger one for some of those bigger areas on your face, then this is always a good, but don't be afraid to do that either. But when you go to purchase some, be thinking about, is it gray enough and is the size a good size that I can work with comfortably? And then work your way into, you know, cheekbones. If you want to sort of make some cheekbones, just think about if I was drawing a face on a piece of paper, where would I put those darker those darker markings? And that's exactly the same concept for contouring. I hope that's helpful to you. I hope you like that look and I hope you give it a try and just play around with it. I mean, you know, worst case is you go outside and you catch a picture, a glimpse of yourself and say, hey, that wasn't the best blending job, but that's okay. That's what makeup is all about. And you know, the people in your life love you for you, not for how you've contoured your face that day. So please consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't. Thanks for being here. I hope this was helpful. Have a good rest of your day and I'll talk to you real soon. Bye-bye.